This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
This show is by far not virtual. It's the real Ask the Rabbi.
It is live and real, and so will our Seder be. It will be live. It will be live streamed.
That's a cool idea, though.
Yeah. Well,
that is so cool.
I don't know. We do live stream our holiday services, and we live stream our Shabbat services. We've been doing that for years, and that's thanks to something called the Twyla Broadcast System. That is in memory of Twyla, and it's a beautiful thing, and it works most Fridays. Every once in a while, we're on the iPad, but we definitely do live stream, and that's a way for people to be interactive with us, and we're looking at getting better technology to do that. You always are. You're always looking for better and better technology so that more people can join you. We initially did it. There's some resistance, of course, within strict Shabbat laws because you're using something electronic. And there's this avoidance of that. And but there's a greater good that's served. We've always felt. Because the shut-ins can participate, and obviously people who travel.
Well, now everybody's shut in. So
everybody's shut in, right? And so we've always done that, though, because we've always had members that for one reason or another can't make it to a Friday night. Very often a health reason. And so the overarching, there's two principles in Judaism that come into play. One is the greater good, the mitzvah of the community, which we've always felt that streaming serves. And then there's another, which is coming into play today. And actually the Orthodox are saying live streaming's okay because...
Whoa, really?
Yeah. Well, some groups are. It varies. You have to...
That's a big step, though.
Well, it is a big step.
Really is a big step.
And the principle there is it has to do with the sha'ah, the hour, what's going on in the moment. And so... a lot of people are calling this a plague. It's not really a plague. It's a virus. It's a pandemic and a pandemic virus. But we tend to get, plague is a specific set. Well, no,
I think plague is pretty accurate.
It definitely is devastating. To many, many people, and and I understand the desire to use that word. And folks, I do not have I have my typical morning nose. And so you may hear a little bit of it. That's the other sidebar of this is that I slept a little bit longer today because I was actually up a little bit later working, and I didn't get to bed quite as early as I wanted to. So for those who don't know, I actually instruct students in English who live in China. And that's been kind of interesting because they're talking now about going back out and partying and going back to school. They're going back to school here, most of them, in the next week or so. And so they're done with their part, although,
it was interesting seeing video out of Wuhan that see people on the street now. It wasn't a lot, but I mean... But
it's starting to come. It's starting to come back.
It's coming back.
And the other thing that's been kind of interesting, which kind of mirrors what we're doing, is the number of students who end up going with their parents to work because they're not in school. And so what are they doing? They're taking their iPads. Those kids all have iPads. iPads, laptops, watches. They've got all that technology.
Really?
Yeah,
wow. Big
time. And I'm talking about, very young they've got them. And
yes, we are in our third world country here. No, you hear about that in Japan, especially Japan, Singapore.
Well, the places where they make it, right, where they make those products, they are inexpensive for people to get. The other reality, and I'm keenly aware of this, is that the online education, the system of which I'm a part, is not inexpensive for the average Chinese person. But the Chinese spend phenomenal amounts of money on the education of their children. The younger they are, the more they spend. And part of that, it's a different system. And this is one of the things that I try to tell people, is it's not a right or wrong kind of thing. It's a different system. They've got free education in the public system, but there are limited seats. It's not everybody who wants to can go. You have to pass the tests.
You have to qualify
to get into one of these
Whoa.
free slots. So
okay.
Yeah, right. So that's the difference. And so there is this sidebar that goes alongside the free Chinese education, which is there's this whole paid education. And most parents supplement.
And it's interesting. I remember, the '84 Olympics and talking with some of the Chinese Olympians, and the competitive nature of those athletes is off the charts.
Off the charts, and that competitive nature is very young.
And it's in the classroom too.
It's in the classroom as well, for a couple of reasons. One, it's a custom that they actually post all the test scores of everybody publicly.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
Ooh, glad they didn't do that with me.
Yeah. Well, so we've got a very different culture, right? They're very much out there. Where is your child? Is your child 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? What? Where is the kid? And the high schools are top tier, second tier, third tier, and depending on, students bid for the positions based on qualifications and things like that. So it's just a very different system. And you're right, it's very, very competitive. It teaches them to be competitive, which, at the same time, they're also taught not to stand out, but to be at the top of the not standing out. Okay, so it's...
Okay, yeah, I get it.
It's kind of an interesting situation, right? And so... and with the virus, of course, they were doing many more hours of instruction. And in fact, the Chinese have asked me to, and I just did, to certify to teach a space unit and a healthy foods unit, and all of these little subunits that they're doing that are little mini courses, and because it fits a need for the older students. And I've been with this company now for, it's going on 4 years. So it's been pretty good. And it's one of the things that I started doing when we started the new congregation, so that I could
never sleep, though. I don't know how you do this.
You're right. I don't get enough sleep. That is my biggest sin, is that I don't get enough sleep. And so when I crash on Shabbat, I crash. I'm asleep. And, Saturday afternoons is when I try to catch up and get some of that shut-eye in.
Because what time do they start?
They are 12 hours apart from us.
Okay.
Okay, and, so here's a couple of things, and it's kind of interesting because when I watched them shut down when the virus first started, right, because what happened, they were on winter break when the virus hit, and it...
That's right. It was almost New Year's.
It was it was like a week before Chinese New Year.
Yeah.
It was in January when it started to come out, and within China and within the larger world, and I can remember talking with some of my students very early on in it, and the government shut everything down. It stopped travel between districts, and it stopped travel in and out of the country. And it shut everything down. And the kids were on break, and they were going to have been on break for at least another 2 weeks. Because 2 weeks after New Year's is the Lantern Festival, 15 days after. And so, right, so there's all of this, because they're on a lunar calendar, right? Now, what's kind of interesting is that they've adopted the 2020. Right, even though the Chinese culture is much, much, much older than that, and should be dating from who knows where,
thousands of years.
Yeah. But they've accepted the 2020. But they say that, there's the World New Year on January 1st, and then there's Chinese New Year when the lunar calendar says that it's 2020. And so that's kind of interesting. And I don't know, I'm going to guess that in the banking world and in the business world, they probably use the outside. Certainly when I'm dealing with the company that's based in Beijing, they're using January dates and things like that. But it also has on the top of the calendar all of the Chinese holidays. It's also got the Jewish holidays. It's got Ramadan. It's got Hindu holidays. It's got, so they're actually pretty interfaith. It's got American holidays, and it's actually got American Thanksgiving on it. It's got Canadian Thanksgiving. So it's this wonderful world calendar. And, when you schedule your students, it says to you, are you sure that you can schedule, it's Ramadan, does that need to adjust your schedule? So they want to make sure that you're aware that you don't, run into having to cancel, because what they really hate is cancellations. They hate no-shows and they hate cancellations, and I don't blame them. It's because they've got paying customers on the Chinese end. And
Question about China, though.
Yeah.
Could you practice if they have the Jewish holidays, can you practice your religion in China?
In China? Yeah, well,
without getting...
it's become much more open.
It has?
Yeah, it
really?
has become much more open. Now, what's interesting is a lot of the Chinese students, they celebrate Christmas, but of course they have no idea that there's anything religious to do with the holiday. It's all about a tree and presents. Oh yeah, definitely getting a or more Christmas presents, and it's about a family meal. It's about trees and wreaths and wearing red hats, and yeah.
Which is what it's become here.
Yeah, it's the very secular version of and they call it an American holiday, and it's kind of funny because, they have a unit on Hanukkah, they have a unit on Diwali, they have a unit on Ramadan, they have Kwanzaa. They even teach the students about Kwanzaa. Yeah, there's this big unit that talks about what the Kinara is about, and how to say, how are you in Swahili, and they've really got all of these things, and it's pretty interesting. So they're more open, and of course, part of that also is a regional thing. And so a lot of my students come from Beijing or Shanghai or Hong Kong, but they also come from deep inside. I was talking, one student I was working with, he says, his classmate comes from Wuhan. So, there's all of this, and there's some gentle discussion about it. And of course, right now, the school is very, very conscious of the PR that's out here in the U.S., and they want to make sure that none of that creeps into the classroom. And it's important. Now, so it gives me a different light. Now, are there Jews?
So they're not playing any of Trump's speeches over there? Right?
No.
No.
That does not build good friendship right now. Yeah.
It doesn't in this country either.
I'm not going there. We are moving the subject right now. So let's talk a little bit about the virtual Seder or the live streaming Seder. And, and the reality is that live streaming, lots of families are actually doing that, a lot more Zoom stuff. And we might even look at setting up a tablet that'll have Zoom on it. So that might be another way for people so that we can actually see their faces, which is the thing that's not quite so easy on this Facebook format. It's, I can see the questions, I can see who's watching. I'm glad that you're awake in Tucson, Sharon. That's the kind of comments that I can get here. So we're looking at different ways of doing some of that. And we might do a combination, a simulcast, if you will. And there's no reason not to, because we'll have more technology. And it was interesting, right? The matzah came today. As I was leaving the house, the the delivery person was bringing the boxes of matzah. So we've got extra spare matzah if somebody needs some, and we'll continue to do that. And yeah. So I think that we are settling in to this home thing. Yesterday I was able to get paper products and water, and Sam's Club had a limit of 5 cases of water. So that should satisfy even some of the bigger hoarders. I mean, I came home with 2 cases of water, and my other half said, okay, we're almost at hurricane level. And because we start stockpiling in spring, make it easy on ourselves. Instead of buying 1 case of water when we need it, we buy 2. We work our way as we normally do through 1, and then 1 goes into the hurricane stockpile. And then,
I just think hurricane season is just a couple of months away.
Yeah, right. So this is when we normally ramp up for that. And we, as I said, we do it gently. 2 reasons. 1, so that we're not out there staring at the empty shelves in the supermarket when everybody panics. But also because it's a lot easier to carry in 2 cases of water than to carry in 10 or 8 or whatever number. I don't know what number Bill considers. Bill's in charge of stockpiling water for the hurricanes, and normally he does it. I just happened to have been out yesterday. I was on my way home from an appointment and stopped at Sam's. So, it's and they are very busy. Let me tell you, Sam's was quite.
I've
quite
never
crowded.
been in it here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew things were up pretty good because people were hugging containers of toilet paper as I walked in. And I said, okay, that's a good sign. And when I left, it was still, I wouldn't say it was overflowing, but there was still stock on the shelves. So, and Sam's had a limit of 1 per item for people. So I was able to get my container.
Publix is pretty much the same, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of places are. So the supply chain is starting to normalize. And, and anyway, so the hoarding over the stockpiling, if you will, for the hurricane, we use that up at the end of the year. And we just, work our way down through it until. So that way it's hopefully not as big a strain on us or on the supply chain. And so we were in that mode anyway when this hit. So, yeah. And I hope that people do start to have some compassion. I've got to wonder, some people have got to have enough product to get them through the next 3 years. And I hope that you're not one of those folks that feels that worried and that paranoid. The supply chain is continuing. People are working. Not everybody is completely shut down. Obviously, the folks here at WPSL are working beautifully and hard. And, we are about 6 foot distance, but that's the same distance that we always are.
We would be anyway.
Yeah, that's where we're all at our normal stations.
Sure.
For those who don't know it, there are folks who have to be in the studio helping to run the studio. It's not just an iPad and off I go. So that's one of the things that I have always, it's just one of the things I care about. People need to be aware of the quote-unquote invisible people that make the world function. Those are the folks that are still doing the work, right? In this industry, it's the folks running the technology, it's the cameramen, it's the mixer people, it's you, it's it's Cliff, it's out of sight and out of mind. It was what a lot of people do, and it's so I'll flip that over to the college. Okay, something you might not have expected. But the person who comes in and makes sure that the professor turns off the computer, i.e. they turn it off if you don't, and they clean the whiteboards and they clean the desks, that's always gone on. And it goes on between. Now, if the classes are booked one right after the other, which they are for 3 or 4 classes, but then there's a break. And the cleaning crew comes in and cleans like twice a day.
They're great at IRSC.
They are amazing.
They're cleaning the gym all the time.
All
It's
the time.
amazing, yeah.
And they've always done that, and that's not new. And, so students walk in, for the most part, into a very clean classroom. It's only if one student has, spilled something or something like that. And then you can call maintenance and they'll come in and clean it. And most students are not even aware of the maintenance people who work these really crazy hours, who get yelled at by everybody, and who still look at you and smile and say, what can I do? And, they are great.
We have one young guy that does the maintenance in the gym, and I'll never forget one of our players. It was they were leaving for the Christmas break. He gave him a box of candy, and I thought, this is kind of cool. This is, here's an 18-year-old kid who appreciates working in a clean environment.
Absolutely.
I thought that was really, really cute. Yeah.
So, it's one of the things that I try to encourage. I know that every once in a while a professor will put on an exam, what's the name of the person who cleans our classroom? Just so that students, get to know it. So all of that plays a big part, and that plays a big part in a congregation as well. Right? I'm the one who's up in front of the camera because when we live stream, I'm the one who's there. And it's not about me, it's about the congregation. And I'm hoping that people get that, whether they're there physically in our sanctuary or whether they're streaming. There are people who are running the streaming. It takes, somebody flips my slides, somebody does this, somebody does that. We're in the process of getting a new musician. So there's lots of stuff that's going on that isn't instantly apparent on this small screen that projects. We've got 2 cameras. We're looking at adding a third. And we need to upgrade one of the computers. So if anybody here has a couple of $1,000s in their back pocket and would love to donate it, we certainly can use it. And that's as good a time as any to say, if you'd also like to sponsor Ask a Rabbi, if listening to me talk about this and that and the ability to give me a call at 772-340-1590 appeals to you, or if you like the idea that people can call and ask this rabbi just about any question, please feel free to do that. A sponsorship for the Ask a Rabbi is wide open. I can certainly appreciate any effort that people might do. And sure, it is. It's too bad that you can't cantor from a distance. That's our cantor who comes in, our cantorial soloist who comes in for the holidays. And
where is she?
She's in Tucson. So she's comes.
What? She's waking up at 8:29.
Yeah,
in the morning,
she's waking up early. And I'll give a shout out. She does delivery. She does Discovery Toys, and you can catch her in Tucson live. She does a spot every day for folks, and for folks who are homeschooling or finding their little ones in the home. You might want to check out some of the different things that Discovery Toys has. So there you go, Sher. You got a blurb on here as well.
Now send a check. Oh.
She does.
That's great.
She actually does. She's a
Toys?
member of the congregation.
Discovery
Toys. Yeah, and they've got learning things.
That's cool.
Yeah. Right. And you've heard me talk about one of the problems that we've got. I just got a whole bunch of hearts. That we've got a problem with flat screen kids. Screen kids.
Yeah.
And that's the phenomena. And, the Discovery Toys and other tactile toys are so important for them to learn eye-hand coordination. It doesn't come out of a shoot the guy on the screen kind of an app. I'm sorry. It does not come out of Minecraft. It does not come out of any of those things. Yes, those are wonderful, and it's really cool to be able to take something to amuse the kids. But, in your home, you need tactile toys for kids and learning toys. Right, so things that help measure, that teach them volume, things that teach this and that, colors, and all the different things. Check out Discovery Toys. That's my blurb for them.
But what's the one, construction type toys?
The Lincoln Logs, the Legos.
Legos, yeah. Well, our grandson was really into that.
Yeah.
He's now going to be an engineering student at Eastern Washington University. But that was his foundation.
Yeah.
Building stuff from the time he was neon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this little nose that does not want to stop
Oh,
today.
yeah.
Tree pollen, thank you. I saw it in the. I take the dogs out, and since I have a reddish brown poodle-y dog, who blends really well with the dry grass in my backyard. Yeah. So I go when I take them out at night. They go out with me with a flashlight because they run free in the backyard, and seeing a brown dog is difficult in daylight, let alone at night, because he blends in so well with my grass right now. But
we need a little rain.
Yeah, but as I shine that at night, boy, can I see the pollen just flying from the trees. It really reflects in the flashlight.
That time of year.
Yeah, it's that time of year, and I always have that. Even in Tucson, I had that. Tucson's not supposed to have a lot of, but there are still trees and there's still pollen. So, yay, allergies. I love them. But it's part of life, right? It's part of who and what we are and how our bodies work. So that's a good thing. I'm also, so again, an invitation, please join us, 6 o'clock Eastern Time on April 8th. We will be doing a virtual Seder for those who'd like to join us. And if you are close and want a ritual meal, 2J's has agreed to supply not only a standard dinner, but in fact a full ritual meal in a box lunch or a box dinner format. They'll package it. We'll give them each individual order, and they'll package it up. And for that reason, we need to know by April 2nd what you're going to want, how many of what you're going to want. You can go on our website and order the meal. You can order it by phone. You can go on Facebook, download the picture that has the form. However it wants to work, you can pay by credit card, check, whatever. We won't actually negotiate the funds with everything being so fluid until the day of the 8th, so that we can pay 2J's.
So are you going to FedEx a meal out to Sharon in Tucson?
I know she'd probably like that. I'm sure
she'd love 2J's.
I'm sure she would. Yeah, she would love 2J's. I don't know that she and I have ever been to 2J's. We might have to make sure that this year we do that. Because I wish we had one of those in Port St. Lucie. Oh well, one of these days. They're coming. Everything's coming. I can't believe how much Port St. Lucie's growing up and
you haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, and it's infilling. I mean, when we moved into our neighborhood, there was lots of green and natural, and I feel for the animals, right, because they're being really displaced. Okay, so Sharon said that she went there with Stuart, so that tells me she went to 2J's. Okay, so. I think Stuart goes to 2J's quite often. I don't make it down that far very often, but they do have excellent food. I have been there, and I have reason to be in Stuart every once in a while. One of the ironies, right? We have somebody named Stuart who has an office in Stuart. All right. So, anyway, you are welcome to join us. We've got different meals for the Seder that you can order. You can order chicken, you can order brisket, you can order salmon, you can order cod, you can order a Cornish hen, or you can order a vegan meal. So lots of different options, and it'll come with the ritual objects. And it'll even come, it'll have some charoset in it, it'll have the parsley, it'll have a couple of the things that we do that are a little bit unique, like a scallion. It'll have romaine lettuce, it'll have egg, it'll have, you have a choice of gefilte fish or chopped liver. So, lots of things, matzo ball soup, all of the beautiful things.
But if you're a vegan, you can't have the matzo ball soup, can you?
Well, there is a vegan.
There's a
vegan matzo ball soup.
Really?
Yeah. That can be had.
Okay.
You can get a vegan chicken broth, a vegan broth, and you do not have to have animal products in a matzo ball. You can get them to adhere without an egg.
Okay.
You just have to use different products.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
And
that's cool.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think Publix carries the vegan matzo balls in a jar. So, different things. I always try to make sure that I have those things for folks. No. Well, you can get just about anything that, pho. Right, but we don't do lamb, actually. Lamb is not one of the meals that's offered. That's an interesting point.
Why not? I would think that would be.
Well, Because the temple isn't there, so we really can't do the lambing ritual.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so to make sure that people knew that it wasn't the same thing, Ashkenaz Jews, European Jews, don't do lamb for Passover. Sephardi Jews do. Sephardi Jews do. They didn't have the Christian pushback, for lack of a better way to put it. Right. So part of European, the practice of European Jews has been a response to Christianity. Christianity saying do this, and Jews saying no. And so there's this stuff that happens with Ashkenaz Jews, with European Jews, that has changed Judaism.
The yin and yang of Judaism.
Right. And Sephardi, who have been, in other places like Turkey and who come out of Spain. Sephardi means Spanish Jews. But they have been more interconnected with the Moorish influence. So they've got a more Middle Eastern, a little more Muslim interaction. And so their pushback is different.
Wow.
Okay. So there are some different customs that have come up in the different places where Jews have lived for thousands of years, right? Christianity's been around for about 2,000 years, so, and Islam about 1,400 years, 1,500 years, somewhere in there. And, so, yeah. Different.
Muslims are 600 years behind Christianity?
Yeah.
About that?
Muhammad lived about 600 years
after
Jesus. So, yeah. And, and so, right, that's a big part of what influenced Muhammad, right? Muhammad's in this mix, this trade center kind of on the Arabian Peninsula. I'll get it out yet, my mouth will work. Right, and so he's got some of the Asian influence. He's got Zoroastrian influence. He's got Christian influence. He's got Jewish influence, Mesopotamian. He's got all of these things going around, and that's part of why he's trying to figure out, how do I teach these folks about one God? Right, and Muhammad never said that he was anything other than a messenger, right, a teacher. That's really all he ever was and did. He's not the Messiah in Islam. Jesus is. That came in, right? So that's that confluence of ideas. And
still to this day?
Still to this day, and according to the Quran, Jesus is the Messiah, sits at the right hand of God to be there on Judgment Day. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Okay with that?
Huh?
They're okay with that?
Of course they're okay with that.
That's it. You see, I've never heard that.
Well,
they seem that they are okay with that, as Cliff said. Yeah. Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, the things that people tell you about religions and the things that are true about them are very, very different things.
We're learning that.
Yeah. What can I say? The big difference is that Islam does not say that God had one son. God had all of us as children. That's a little bit closer to Judaism's understanding, right? And we can get more into that one of these days. If somebody,
that's a whole,
that's a whole
series
thing.
of shows.
It's a whole series of shows.
Wow.
And so Judaism has this idea, which Islam has, that God has all of us,
and
not somebody who's intermediary. But yeah, now Muhammad is not a replacement for Jesus in Islam. He is simply a messenger who lived, who heard the angel Gabriel, and passed that on to his followers.
But an imam would say the same thing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, the birth of Jesus is in the Quran. It talks about how the trees bent over so that Mary didn't have to stress to get the fruit from the tree and things like that. Yeah. So the miracle birth of Jesus is in there. And not quite the same way as it is in Christian scriptures, but interestingly, and certainly very mystically.
Huh. Okay.
Okay.
Boy, I've never heard that. Interesting.
So yeah.
stuff.
Well, hey, come take a world religions class.
I was.
Yeah.
I gotta
What can I say?
audit one of your courses.
There
here.
you
This
go.
is great.
So my courses are fully online at IRSC, as all the IRSC classes are. The courses that were already online just continued. Those that I was teaching blended classes this year, which blended classes are half online, half in class, have lots of advantages because the students have a chance to ask you questions one-on-one. We are going to fully online. So if you're one of my students and you're listening, the schedule for the Zoom sessions will be posted very shortly. So we'll have a chance to be interactive at our class times, but I'll be doing it from the safety of my home, and hopefully you're doing it from the safety of your homes as well as we continue on. And fully in-class classes are also migrated over to online.
Any guidance from the school? Do they have any idea when they might be back, or maybe
well,
not?
my summer sessions are scheduled as if they're going to be normal. Of course, the semester ends in mid-April, so it's not surprising
that's true too.
that we closed out the semester with
Sure.
this in mind. I don't know if there's any plans. I haven't seen anything that says that summer sessions are going to move to online or not. I wouldn't be totally surprised if they do. And I'm set
At
up.
least the first session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, the first summer A. I wouldn't be surprised because I think that we're going to be on limited mobility for a while. I don't know. We'll see. And so, here's the PSA, folks. Wash your hands. Be mindful. Don't leave your germs all over the place, and try not to pick up any extra ones. Here's the sanitizer. Make sure you've got some. And again, this is really important. Some people say that I'm trying to make corona sound like a flu. I'm not, but flu is also very dangerous, folks. And people minimize it, which
It kills about 40,000 a year. in the US.
kills 40,000 people in the U.S. every year. And people act like it's nothing because we got a vaccine. Well, I'm sorry, the vaccine doesn't guarantee you're not going to get it.
I got a vaccine and I still got it.
Yeah, people do. Now, theoretically, it's milder, but that's in theory.
No,
It was not mild, right?
No.
My father-in-law died of the flu.
Oh, boy.
So we take it very, very seriously in our family. And maybe that's the piece people aren't getting when they interact with me. We take the flu very seriously in our house. Flu season, this stuff comes out very early, and we wash hands. We wash hands when we're done contacting the outside world, and we wash hands in our home, and we use natural products to keep our immunities up. So, yeah. And we have echinacea in the house so that if one of us feels the least bit under the weather, we can zap the immune system. And I will tell you that the echinacea,
works.
I use a product called Activate, and it really does. It definitely ramps me up. I can feel it taking it. And I've always used that if I'm going to be in public venues. I take that as a precursor. So when I'm traveling, any of those times that I know I'm going to be stressing my system, I take that product, and it's readily available. And I have talked, as far as that product goes, I know doctors that use echinacea amazingly to combat things like Epstein-Barr. That's another virus that people don't know much about, but it puts people in wheelchairs for a long time. There are many, many viruses out there. There's also the polio virus, right? That people have forgotten about. But thank you to the anti-vaxxers, it's coming back. Those viruses never totally disappear. We haven't ever totally eradicated any of them, which amazes me. They live somewhere in some host. Now, here's a piece that I learned this week that surprised me, was that flies played a role in the transmission of polio. Right? And, you think about this for a minute. Zika uses the mosquito.
Yeah.
Right? So, who are the intermittent hosts for this virus? And maybe that might explain some of the
They were talking about bats.
Well, yeah, I mean, bats are known for having coronaviruses, right? And as I've mentioned on other shows, I've been vaccinating my dogs for decades against corona. Parvo and corona were the two big viruses that took out dogs. And most of the deaths from those viruses, from both of them, corona and parvo, is not getting life support to the animal early enough, right? So you need to get the life support so that the immune system can respond early. If you wait too long and it's already attacked the lungs, it gets much harder. And from what I'm hearing with some people, particularly if their systems are compromised with the corona, is that it's quick to attack the lungs. That seems to be where it wants to go. So if you are having that shortness of breath, do get tested quickly, and and be mindful of the ways to treat it. The NIH and the Florida COVID board and all of these different things have a lot of good advice for you on what to do if you do feel sick. But definitely take care of yourself. That was a big clue. I was able to save most of the puppies that came. We had a case of what was called vaccinate parvo, which is a bad batch of vaccine. So instead of immunizing the dogs, it actually
you
gave.
You were giving them.
Yeah.
Oh.
So at 4 months, I had. With show dogs, you often hold the dog until they're about 4 months old, and I'm just getting ready to place them in their homes, and here I go to give them their last shot, because that's what you do. You run the vaccine, and then you put them out, and they all come down with parvo. My kitchen looked like an ICU. Bill put plant hooks up in the ceiling. We hung IVs from there. Ran down into, I had grooming tables all in my kitchen with dogs, little tiny puppy bodies, right, in these cages. And because we did that, one of those dogs lived to be 22.
Wow.
So, and she just died a few years ago. So that tells you we've been dealing with parvo and corona for a long time, folks. Right? So, yeah. So she lived to be a good long age. So those things have been around, and so we learned, both for the dog's sake and for ours, when we used to go to the dog shows, to be very mindful of how many germs and how long a virus stays. And we're even conscious when we go, here you go, right, to one of the, like PetSmart or any of the different pet places, to wash down things so your dog doesn't get a virus coming home from there. Yeah, because everybody brings their dogs in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So,
I never even thought of that.
Yeah. So, again, we've always practiced that in my house, of being mindful of what, don't bring something into the house. Let's keep the house a safe place. So we've got lots of those kinds of practices. And hopefully people will, or as one of my friends in Tucson said, oh, great, now, we've accomplished number one. We've taught people to wash their hands. Right. And now if we can only get the rest of the stuff going, we're in good shape. So, folks, you're not asking me any questions once again. This is Ask a Rabbi, 772-340-1590.
Well, your major clarifications with the Muslim friends was really intriguing.
Any of my Muslim listeners, you're welcome to call and confirm.
Oh, yeah.
And give us the Muslim on the street. Yeah. Sharon just said blinkers are the next thing, number 2. Yeah, that was on that was a meme that made its way around the Tucson group.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah. Washing hands, number 1, blinkers, number 2.
There you go.
We could certainly use some of that here in Florida. Yeah. So I guess that's another universal problem, right? So that actually speaks to what I think might be a bigger issue that I hope people are starting to deal with, and that is that we need to take care of each other. We need to not just care about ourselves. We really do need to care about the larger community. there's a piece of liturgy that we use called, and it says, build the world with love. Olam Chesed Yibaneh comes out of the Psalms, and Rabbi Menachem Creditor of New York did a beautiful job of putting that to melody. We sing it in our liturgy, and I sing it in folks. This is, I guess, the one other piece. You're welcome to join me on Facebook Live for a Torah moment every day at 1:00. I'm doing that from my backyard. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm doing a Torah moment, so you're welcome to join me on Facebook for that. And trying to do that every day. And I will do it today when I get home. And I picked 1:00 because I know I've got things like this. I've got classes, and it looks like I've got somebody calling in. Maybe, maybe not. Yes.
I think so.
We do have somebody calling in. Okay. All right. And we've got Jenny from Port St. Lucie calling about parvo, I guess. Hi, Jenny. Thank you for calling.
Hi, dear. I heard you talking about how you transformed your kitchen for your animals. I rescue animals. I rescued 10 this summer, and I have the moms with me because the babies were all adopted. And I live in an HOA with a neighbor next door that is an animal hater.
Ooh.
She's got issues. Like yesterday, they were just out playing in the yard, and she's like, she just said something really nasty. Like, are those yours? And I said, they're Foster's. And she's like, well, are they yours? Like, she kept on questioning me. I was just like, what? And I don't usually see this person because I travel a lot with a professional golfer. So I'm not usually around that often. They go with me when I'm on the road. So I just don't know. I'm afraid she might do something to them. So I'm just concerned. Like today, I noticed the bug people were out. She called them out to spray.
Okay.
So I'm concerned.
Okay, so, the bug spray, folks, obviously you need to have so Jenny's asking about, she does rescue, and she's got some of the moms until they find homes. She's a foster mom for rescue animals, and I did that for many, many years as well.
Wow. God bless.
Yeah, we did rescue a lot in Ohio, not as much in Tucson, and I've got a little rescue in my house right now. So, yeah, so I definitely feel that's very important. And Jenny's asking about her neighbors. So a couple of obvious things. If she's brought a bug person in, one of the things to be aware of that might have her neighbor a little bit alarmed is that there is another epidemic in the world, which is ticks. There has been a tick explosion in the U.S., and they're coming into our yards on the rabbits.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. The rabbits. When the rabbits go hop, hop, hop through your yard, the fed ticks drop off, and so they're all through the area. So she might be blaming your dogs for the increase in ticks. Maybe she found one on herself, because if you go out and sit in your yard and there's a tick there and it's hungry, it finds you. Right? They're very good at that.
One thing good about Florida, and we've also rescued these creatures, the opossums eat them. They consume them.
Oh, yeah. You definitely want to see opossums there. Opossums they are nature's tick control critters. And with the deforestation that we're doing, in big parts of Port St. Lucie, we're destroying the habitats of the possums. And unfortunately, some people look at them and say rats. They're not rats. They're possums.
Oh, my God. No, they're marsupials. They carry their babies with them.
They do. Mm-hmm. And we actually had a couple of years ago, we had a mama come into my car. Yeah. And, yeah.
What?
Well, she chewed through. She chewed some of the insulation and then my engine, and we had to have the car towed.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, did she eat the wires?
She ate some of the wires. They often do that. And the car mechanic said, you had a rat infestation. And we had the babies, because when she ran out of the car when they went to tow it, she dropped some of the babies on the driveway. And we went and scooped them up and took them. Animal control here will nurture them. They're much better because they've got to be tube fed and all of that, and then they'll release them. And we definitely want that, because possums do an amazing job for us. and they're actually very resistant to rabies and things like that. So they are, don't try to pet them. They're not friendly unless they've been raised around people. Yeah,
Right.
they and they've got a good set of teeth, let me tell you.
Right.
So
There's a rescue center in Palm City on Citrus Boulevard. It's a wilderness center, and they take in opossums and owls and eagles. They're fabulous over there.
So that's good to know for our folks to the south. I know that the Humane Society here gets them to the center as well. So there's lots of different ways that the folks that know that those animals are so important for us do rescue those. So as far as your neighbor, be the best neighbor you can. Go out with your kids, your fur babies. Don't let them become a nuisance. Don't let them, get barky or any of those sorts of things. If you stay out with them, see, my dogs have the run of the backyard, but they don't run it independently. First of all, I don't trust them.
No, I'm always out. I'm always out because I got a 17-year-old rescue that I got from Tequesta.
Yeah.
So I'm always out.
So if you're out, there shouldn't be the issue. You've got to deal with. I don't know what Port St. Lucie, or I don't know where you are and you need to check what the legal law limits are on animals. I know that there is a number. But it depends on how and where and what, and I don't know how rescue falls in that because I'm not doing enough of it right now. There's not enough hours in my day to do that anymore. But power to you. Saving fur babies is very important.
We got 8 adopted, and I should have a 9th one adopted this month.
Oh, very good. So here's a piece that I'm going to offer you for your neighbor. Be nice to your neighbor, not because they deserve it, but because you're a nice person. Right. If we're nasty to somebody, it's because we're nasty, not because they deserve it, but because we're nasty. If you're nice to somebody, it's because you're nice. Right.
Okay.
And that's the thing to remember with that. So always treat her with respect and kindness. And she might have gotten a scare. She might have been bitten by a dog when she was a kid, and she's got body memory of that. You never know. Anyway, lots of bigger questions. Thank you so much for calling. The music's playing, Jenny, so that's our clue that we're out of time. Please check out the congregational website. Thank you again for calling, Jenny. Please check out the congregation website, www.eitzchayim.org, and you can catch us live on Shabbats. This is Rabbi Shafir Lobb. Have a great week. See you next Friday.
You've been listening to Ask a Rabbi right here on WPSL, Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, webcaster to the world.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home